You're listening to the Patrick E. McLean podcast by, you guessed it, me, Patrick E. McLean. Today on the program, production quality and credibility, and the luxury of giving yourself time. Oh, that's a sound that takes me back. That is, if you don't know, the theme song to a podcast that I did in 2005 called The Shawnee. And that was my commitment to myself to produce an original piece of fiction or essay every week for a year, which was very difficult. Consistency is difficult. And consistency is the most important thing if you're going to be generating content. The reason it was difficult is the bar was a little high and I wasn't quite as experienced as I am now, say, writing things. There was a high level of audio production and had to learn how to do all that. And I remember doing the RSS feed by hand. It was back in the storied days when everybody walked uphill both ways to school. But of that experience, I will say it changed my life, not because of any opportunity necessarily that came from it, but having an audience and then getting profoundly unstuck as a creative. This podcast is not going to be like the Shawnee. It's going to be short, 5 to 7 minutes generally. It'll be daily-esque, by which I mean to say I'm going to try and speak into this microphone with an interesting idea pretty much every day. Maybe every work day, but pretty much every day. So one of the things that's changed that I've thought about quite a lot since I did the Shawnee is production quality. Now, it used to be, and you have to have a decent mic, or you have to have a decent level of production for everything so it doesn't get in the way of the message, right? The type has to be clear in the book. But beyond that, it used to be that things had more credibility the more polish they had. Think of like an old school, news announcer, Walter Cronkite. It was a polished production, and you trusted Walter because he delivered everything perfectly. Radio announcers. But now, because everybody can kind of produce stuff and we can polish things within an inch of their lives, if somebody is too formal or you don't get to see them thinking or get the sense that they're really present, I don't like to use the word authentic, but maybe that's useful here. If you don't get that, then you trust them less. So it's almost like if you leave the errors in, the stumbles, the thinking, it's more real, it's more compelling. The thing you don't shoot in the studio, you just shoot on YouTube, that is really what you think about an important issue, and you put it up there. We trust that more. And we trust the other thing, the well-produced thing, less. At least that's what I'm seeing. And the other thing that's nice about this is just letting it run. Right? Just letting the recorder run and seeing what you catch. Because there's plenty of drive space. And plenty of time. So one of the things that I do, especially when my attention gets fragmented, is I'll use a timer. I've written about this. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. There's a number of techniques. The Pomodoro technique is one of them. But I'll take this kitchen timer and I'll set it, right? And then for whatever time I set it for, usually 25 minutes, I'll try and focus on a single task. And it's generally writing. And what you find when you do that and you give your attention to something is you'll find out that 10 minutes actually is a surprisingly long amount of time when you're not distracted or checking your phone. There's really a magic to it, and it's a kind of luxury. The other thing that it enables you to do is to build your attention like a muscle. So if you do this a little bit, and one of the things they suggest is you write down a list of tasks and estimate the number of Pomodoros you think it's going to take to do it. So you write it down. And then if your attention wavers, like what I do is I'll keep a list of things that I think will come up to try and distract me from, say, writing, that are more important, and then I write the list down. And after the timer's over, I go back. And I always find that they're trivial. And they always could wait. There's nothing really that's an emergency. But the other thing that it does is if you work it like this, if you say, okay, if my attention wavers for longer than, say, 20 seconds, then I'm going to stop the timer and take a break, right, immediately, and then come back and try and get another 10-minute or 20-minute period. It teaches you to use your attention like a muscle, and then you have more attention that you can pay to another task the next day. So it's not really a time management tool, it's an attention management tool. And I find it a fine antidote to this attention deficit disorder of an age we live in. My God, it sounds like 60 minutes.